So this is a new film that was written, directed, and also stars Jesse Eisenberg in what I believe is his second feature film debut. It also stars Kieran Culkin of Succession fame. They play cousins, Benji and David. Kieran Culkin plays Benji. Jesse Eisenberg plays David, estranged cousins who are going on this kind of heritage trip after the death of their grandmother. Their grandmother left them some money, and they decide that we're going to go to Poland and see where she lived and learn a little bit more about our heritage and visit some Holocaust memorial sites. And that's the main premise of the movie. And our cousins are a little bit estranged. They used to be very close when they were younger. They've grown apart in life. Jesse Eisenberg is kind of traditionally very successful. He's married, has a good job, has a young son, but he's a very kind of timid man. He's kind of scared of his own shadow. Kieran Culkin's the exact opposite. He's wild. He's brash. He really doesn't care. He just says what's on his mind. He just has a lot of really strange behaviors, but it is also kind of the opposite. He's kind of not successful in work and in career, and they kind of are jealous of each other. And they're on this tour with a small group of other Jewish people who are kind of doing this heritage thing. So it's kind of like a road trip movie. While them discovering their roots, learning more about their roots, and working on their relationship with each other. So that's our setup. Zach, what'd you think?
So I like A Real Pain. It's simple, and I think that's good because I know it's Eisenberg's first big feature. It's like 85 minutes, like 95 minutes, just clears feature length. A lot of really good locations. I think it's a little. I had struggled. What's the best way to say this? I had struggled connecting with the two themes of like my struggles with this other person who's like me, but I want to emulate. I want to be like them versus like the struggles of our heritage and family as they experienced the Holocaust years ago. Those two I didn't connect as good as I think maybe Eisenberg wanted. Like there's a lot of this presentation as they tour Poland and kind of get into the history of the Holocaust and where their family came from that kind of conflicts a little bit with like the much more interesting A line of like Eisenberg and Culkin like going back and forth and kind of being friendly but also sparring and having like conflicting energy, and this like poor tour group like that they're around who just cannot handle the two of them in the way they are. It's a good time. I'm a Succession guy, so I already am familiar with Kieran Culkin, like I think as well as anybody could be. He's tremendous. Like he's so perfect for this role. It was weird. You had mentioned that he hadn't really auditioned for it because that to me seems like nobody else could do this. But originally Eisenberg, I know, had kind of written the role of Benji for himself and then realized that he's kind of much more like this other character who is really more similar to himself than like the Benji character. And Culkin is kind of this perfect bolt of lightning energy where he's just so cool and flippant and nonchalant and everybody wants to be him and he can talk to anybody and he's just charming all the time. Kind of fantastic for who Benji is.
Yeah, like his character is this enigma because he almost at first you think he's just kind of a jerk, but a lot of it makes really good points. One of my favorite moments is they're visiting an old graveyard, and the tour guide is spouting off all these facts, all these statistics, this history, and it's just kind of a lot. And eventually, Benji's like, "Hey, man, can you just shut up? Like, can you just let us soak it in?" And it's very uncomfortable, but he's right. And later on, the tour guide thanks me. He was like, it was a little uncomfortable, but no one's ever actually given me any feedback, and it was nice to actually get something that to help me make the tour better. So he is this character that can be so brash and sometimes just crazy, but also right. There's another moment where they're looking at a big memorial that has these. It's like soldiers, and it's a big memorial of the war. And he's like, "Oh, let's all take a picture." And then he's like, "Let's take a silly." Or they're all doing these different poses or acting, and it seems so inappropriate, but everyone goes for it. And it's like it highlights the difficulty that our modern day characters have with the past, the pain of the Holocaust. Where at one point Kieran Culkin says like we're on this fancy train eating fancy food while learning about this horrific thing that happened to our people. It's called A Real Pain. It's about the pain of survivor's guilt, the pain of being a descendant, of being descendant of survivors, of thinking about the pain of them, and he is a real pain in the butt to our character. So it's an exploration of pain as well.
Yeah, like the themes that I think audiences will connect to are like having a family member who's just unlike you, and you guys are kind of planes, trains, and automobile together. You know what I mean? Like you're kind of stuck with one another, and you got to make do. And it's especially affecting if it's somebody you've known a long time. Like the two of them talk a lot about their childhood. Now they used to hang out all the time, and they used to be chill, and things used to be good. And how could you get so different, man? And like that kind of bubbling up of energy until eventually you know it's going to crack and they're going to have some kind of big argument. And like that stuff I think is really relatable. And additionally, like where we came from and the people who came before us, I think some can relate to. I don't know if most look into it as heavy as Eisenberg is investigating in this movie, but all of that is a perfect excuse to have beautiful locations in Poland where so much of this is shot. Like huge monuments, great sunsets, big like flowers and railways, train cars. Like as we are moving along on this tour, we get a beautiful film. Like we get a good thing to look at, which is good. Like on the opposite end of that, you'd have something like His Three Daughters, which we covered on Netflix, which was a beautiful script with beautiful characters, but a really dry setting. Like it doesn't go anywhere. You're stuck in the
Yeah.
apartment pretty much the whole time. This could have been that movie. It could have been the two of them just arguing in rooms, but instead, like they're at the airport, they're walking along a thing, they got kicked out of this thing. Like, and that all is a really good like seed bed for conflict that we know is bubbling. And it's difficult for me because on the one hand, like when Benji leaves the room after an awkward moment at dinner and like everybody in the tour group is looking at Dave like, and Dave feels the need to apologize, like, I'm sorry about Benji. And they all start talking about him, brutal. Like the uncomfortableness that like you are all talking about this guy who's not there, and you're all so sick of him is like terrible. But then when Eisenberg starts rambling about his past and he reveals information about Benji that he should never tell anybody, it feels overwrought. And it's like, you went too far, kid. And like, I think, I don't know, it pushed me out in places where I had just been pulled in. It feels like a story that I was not able to connect to, maybe because it's so dedicated to this specific heritage. And that's okay. I think maybe other people will more, but for me, like Real Pain does the perfect job of getting out just when it becomes too much. And like being a 90-minute feature, it wraps up like right when it needs to. We get the two of them finally meeting and understanding one another where they need to be. And credits, and it's a Real Pain. And like I think it's a good time. And it says that the pain doesn't go away. It tells us that like it persists, and it's who we are through it that matters most, I think.
I wanted to also comment on, so they were allowed to shoot inside the concentration camp, which is usually never allowed. Usually, you are not allowed to make movies at these places at all. But they Jesse Eisenberg specifically wrote to like the board or whoever that said, this is the film we want to make, and we're not looking to make it a historical film, like turn it into 1945 World War II. He's like, we want to film it as it is today, a memorial. And it was at the Majdanek concentration camp memorial that's still there. So very unique place, kind of like Zone of Interest, that also did a similar thing where they were able to take cameras inside of the Auschwitz museum and memorial. So some real string pulling, and Jesse Eisenberg using his celebrity to be able to get some of this really incredible footage that they would normally not be able to get.
Yeah, it's a funny similarity these two films on episode 279 share, right? Like bit of Holocaust history in them, and I'm pleased to say that like Brutalist never actually shows anything. It gets you through audio mostly and dialogue and like dream sequences. A lot of like you'll hear like a rail car sound in the background while Laszlo's standing in line. Like it's a bit more subliminal. Whereas in Real Pain, like it really does boil right down to it. Like they just take you right there, and it's solemn and it's tasteful in the way that it needs to be for sure. But I definitely was surprised. I was like, oh my god, they're actually filming here. All right, we're going to it. We're going there. They tell you in the open. Like the tour guide tells you at the beginning of the movie, like it's gonna get heavy. This is gonna be hard, and like I think that's a good thing. I like the way that Real Pain onboards you and brings you through it and gets through these struggles of these characters who are very human people in a very human script. Um, it's good. A little dramatic, but I think in the best way and well acted.
Yeah, the performances are top notch. I mean, there's a lot of Oscar talk for Kieran Culkin in supporting actor. This is one of those things where he's really a lead, but he's not Jesse Eisenberg, so they fudged it a little bit. But he's definitely a front runner.
Absolutely. Any other thoughts or recommendations?
I think I'm ready.
Andy, would you recommend A Real Pain?
Yeah, I absolutely would. In contrast to The Brutalist, Real Pain is very digestible. I think for most audiences, it's quick. It's 85 minutes. It's not even a whole hour and a half, and it's a comedy about the pain of being a survivor of or the descendant of survivors of the Holocaust. So it's a bit of a family drama. It's looking back at one's roots and where you come from, where you're going, and trying to better understand that. There's a lot of laughs and tears along the way, so highly recommend.
I think I'd skip it. It's all right. Culkin's a good time if you like Culkin. It is a funny script, but it's tough. It's hard, man. Like there's a lot of tears in this movie, and like I don't know. Like if you're looking for something to watch in your free time, and you're looking for something that's like a little bit more challenging, I do think it's good. But I came out a little bit more disaffected. I was like, I feel like I just wasn't prime for this. I don't really have anybody like Benji in my life. I don't have any family like that. I don't really possess a family history that's quite this dark. Like I don't know. I think I'm just a big softy. Like Real Pain kind of misses me a little bit, but I do think it's a good time. The two of them are a lot of fun in it. I'm looking forward to what Eisenberg does next. Um, just for me, like, it's fine. You catch it on streaming. It's on Hulu right now. It's where we caught it. Um, God, that's the end of the episode. Episode 279 off script, done and behind us. Andy, what are we watching next week?
So we're going to be taking a look at Presence, which is the new Steven Soderbergh horror film, which is from the perspective of the entity or ghost haunting this house, starring Lucy Liu and oh, I'm blanking on the other person. She's in Uncut Gems. I'll come back to it. Anyways, that's the big horror release. Other releases that we're not going to be checking out this week: Flight Risk with Mark Wahlberg, that I've seen this stupid trailer for so many times this week. That is out if you're interested in that. And we're going to be taking a look at possibly a different man, something on streaming, maybe a look at a David Lynch film. We'll keep you updated. But Different Man is streaming on Max if you're interested. That is the film that Sebastian Stan actually won his Golden Globe for, where he plays an actor who has tumors all over his face and eventually gets this medication to kind of eventually it goes away, and then he kind of discovers life isn't that much better just because he's not as ugly as he once was. I heard a lot of great things. It's not too long, and that's on Max. But next week, Presence and streaming to be decided.
I really got to be a bit more open-minded about Presence because in both of the trailers I've seen for it, one of like the first opening quotes is like the most horrifying film of the year, and all of the visuals are so wildly soft that I'm like, when does it get horrifying? What is going to be happening in this movie that is going to be so bone-chillingly terrifying that I'll be coming out and being like, oh my god, you didn't know. So with that kind of hype behind me, I think maybe my opening interpretation might be a little tainted, but I'm gonna try to be chill. It'll be a good time. Presence will be fun. Maybe if I go in thinking it'll be soft, it'll be like Hereditary and it'll like really horrify me, and I'll come out thinking, oh my god, that was totally something I didn't expect. Different Man, meanwhile, does look like something I didn't expect, and I'm excited to talk about it. Stan can seemingly do no wrong. Man cooks. Let him cook. Gosh, that's episode 279 off script. Done and dusted, right behind us. Bit of a short one this week, but I'm excited to come back next week. If you enjoyed the show today, if you like what we're doing here on Off Script, best thing you can do to support your boys is just subscribe to the show on your favorite platform. If you're on audio, we love our audio listeners. We are on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartMedia, Google Play. You can leave a rating and review over there. It helps move up in the store. I swear it helps. Sounds silly. It matters. If you're on YouTube, love our YouTube subs. Big thing going on over there. Come check out our come check out our channel with our other subscribers, really. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all these will social media places. You can check out our website, offscriptfilmreview.com, and you can email us directly at mail@offscriptfilmreview.com. Leave a comment, leave a like, just some engagement, somewhere. Move the needle, all right? Why not? We appreciate it. We appreciate you. From all of us at Offscript, the home of bold cinema, I'm Zach Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Draper.
Thanks for listening.